and welcome to Quarter Time Podcast. I'm Lucy G.
And I'm Lucy P.
And we're here to bring you all the netball goodness you never knew you needed.
Welcome to episode 12. And hello to London. Amazing to be down at the Copper Box this week. And what a way to kick off the second half of the season. We've got another 6 awesome games under our belt and some really incredible performances to chat about. So Lucy G, what's coming up on today's show?
So today, after having a week off from the VNSL and doing things a little bit differently last week, we're back to the format that we know and love with our 3-word summaries of the games and then taking a look at who we've chosen for our player of the round and our game of the round. We'll then be chatting about the upcoming Suncorp Super Netball season, which we are so excited for. And then finally, we have an amazing interview with England Rose and Saracens Mavericks defender Jodie Gibson, talking all about injuries.
Awesome. Let's dive right in with our 3-word summaries. First up this week in round 12, we had Dragons versus Bath. And I said, halftime reboot. What a game of 2 halves, this one. After a much stronger start from Dragons and a pretty messy first half from Bath, Bath made some critical changes which flipped the game on its head at halftime and showed us all why they are a championship team. Bath were able to score twice as many as Dragons in the fourth quarter. It was 18-9, but there were some outstanding individual performances from Dragons that they should be super proud of.
Yeah, definitely. Following that game was Stars versus Sirens, and I've gone for return of Leota. This was all about the return of Liana Leota and how good was it to see her back where she belongs on a netball court and not on the sidelines. This was a pretty even game for the most part, actually, with the third and the fourth quarter were tied, but it was Sirens' ability to come out of the blocks firing that basically got them the win. The Stars attack end did have much more pace and fluidity with the return of the Kiwi superstar, so good job.
Next up, we had Mavericks versus Rhinos.
Oh.
And for this one, I said pure Rhinos brilliance.
Yes.
What a performance. That was probably the best 48-minute performance that we've seen from Rhinos, who can occasionally lack a tiny bit of consistency in their moments of brilliance. And Mavs were putting out all the stops, trying to stop them, putting out Kadeen Corbin at GK even. It was crazy. What an amazing game. Absolute corker.
Yeah, totally blew my mind. It was great. Then we had Wasps versus Lightning, and I've gone for wakey, wakey, Wasps. I think Wasps were basically caught napping in the first quarter of this game, and it let Lightning pull ahead with a pretty decent lead that Wasps couldn't ever really recover from. Wasps also had a pretty high penalty count at 51 with 13 unforced errors compared to Lightning's 8. Lightning were just immense, really, and it's really difficult to fault them in this game.
First up on Monday, we had Wasps versus Stars, and for this one, I said a hot mess. After a decent opening quarter from Stars, they then went on to claim the title of joint lowest ever quarter score with 3, which they now share with Dragons.
Thanks.
It was a 16-6 final quarter that sealed the deal, with Stars unable to find consistency and effectively disrupt the well-drilled Wasps attacking end. One positive from this game, though, was Stars bringing on their 16-year-old goal shooter, Izzy Eaton, who played really well in the second half, sinking a few nice long bombs for her side.
Yeah, amazing to see her. And then rounding off round 12, we had Storm versus Pulse, London Derby. And I've gone for whistle for days. An extremely heavy game on the penalties and cautions. This one has got to set a new record, surely, as the most whistle-heavy game this season so far. Tensions were definitely running high in this local derby, and it was a real nail-biter with both sides pretty much going goal for goal the entire match. Pulse have found a bit more of their attacking groove in recent weeks, and despite a pretty solid performance from Storm, the London side were able to just sneak over the line.
Awesome. Moving on to our games of the round. So this week I have unsurprisingly gone for Mavericks versus Rhinos.
Oh, shocker.
And I really think that this was a pretty surprising game, not necessarily in the result, but just the margin and the fact that Rhinos were able to win every single quarter. They just came out firing and they were giving it everything. Each individual player had such a strong performance, and that just really lifted the whole team. I think you could really tell that this was a particular game that they had been targeting as one they really wanted to win. Mavs are still trying to settle on that attacking unit, and they moved Kadeen out to goal attack in the second quarter, and they were obviously trying to claw back a bit of the deficit from the first quarter. But Vicky Oyosola was on fire. She was amazing in this game. She picked up 6 intercepts and 4 turnovers and basically just shut down everything that Mavericks were trying to do. Yeah. And then obviously at half time, the gap is now out to 11. And we had this huge move, which was putting Kadeen Corbin, you know, the goal attack goal shooter that we know and love, into goalkeeper. Incredible. I was not expecting that at all. It was a huge surprise, but apparently she has a defender background. So that's, I guess, why they're doing that. And obviously her vertical jump is insane. Donnell Wallum was killing it, and they had to try and do something. So I guess that's why they made that move. And I actually thought Kadeen did a really good job back there, you know, given the fact that she doesn't typically play defender. Yeah. And yeah, it wasn't about a lack of effort from Mavs. They were giving it everything, but they just didn't have the answers. Rhinos were electric. Wallum, 54 goals. And, you know, their defensive end is just incredible. Keenan had 6 intercepts, 4 deflections and 5 turnovers. I mean, what more can you ask for from a team, really? It was insane. So Rhinos are now only 4 points behind Mavs on the ladder, and they only have 1 less win. So that looks pretty interesting to me.
Yeah, this game just, it was everything. It was so watchable. And even though it's a little bit of a blowout in terms of the result, the actual game itself, I just could not take my eyes off of it. I think it was Pam Cookie in commentary when she said that Kadeen had gone out to goalkeeper. I was like, oh, that's got to be a bit of an error there. And then I looked, I was like, oh my God, I could not believe it. And I think you're spot on. I think she did an absolutely cracking job actually at goalkeeper. You know, if your first run out at GK is against Donnell Wallum, talk about baptism of fire, my goodness. So yeah, fair play for trying something new.
Yeah, exactly. I like seeing a risk being taken. It's always good.
Definitely.
Which one have you gone for, Luce?
So I have gone for Storm versus Pulse. I think, you know, this was always going to be a pretty feisty game as a London derby, and I think it definitely lived up to expectations. And similarly with Rhinos and Mavs, I think both teams would have had this down as a bit of a must win. Pulse started off really well with their attack end firing, and I felt like they were finding Siggy with much more ease than they have done previously. And they managed to pull out to a 5-goal lead, 2-7. But then they just lost a bit of discipline and composure. And again, they allowed Storm to draw back level. And to be honest, this was pretty much the theme of the game. It was a real seesaw kind of affair. I feel like neither team has found that ability to really punish their opposition when they get a lead, and they keep letting them claw themselves back in. But I suppose that's good for us as a spectator because it gives us a goal-for-goal game. So that's fab. I thought Emma McGee had an outstanding game for Storm. She was a real standout for them. She had some beautiful court craft, creating loads of options for them in attack. And I think she actually really got the better of Zara Everett. As amazing as she is, she sort of had her number, really. I thought Fedoju and Keeble were absolute game changers, and I think that was a really smart decision by Sam Bird to bring them on at the half, because they are both such great impact players. I also have to say, as you know, I think Siggy did a solid job, particularly in the first half, but I feel like Radaman was robbed of player of the match for that game, because she did an outrageous amount of work out in the front for Pulse, particularly as they were struggling to find Siggy in that second half. And the last quarter in particular, she really, really stood up. I have to say, though, which we alluded to in the summary, the game itself, I think, was somewhat overshadowed by the number of cautions and warnings that were given out, and I actually found it really detracted from the game. I would question, particularly in that third quarter, whether some of the cautions that were dished out were a bit soft, dare I say a bit unnecessary. I don't know. I'm not an umpire. Gary Burgess, please don't at me. And again, it makes me compare it to ANZ and SSN. But to be fair to the umpires, the players didn't adjust, and it is their responsibility to do so. They need to react to what's being called, and they didn't. So
yeah, I totally agree with you. I think the players should probably have recognised, because it was quite early on that the first caution was handed out. And I think there needed to be a bit of a moment where the players sort of said, okay, this is how it's going to be. We need to, adjust what we're doing. We need to maybe pull out a bit more and go for things that we're more likely to get. But the final penalty count, I think they referenced in the commentary, was something like 72 to 79, which... that is just crazy. So that's a problem for me, because this has been a standout game in terms of penalties and cautions handed out. And maybe it comes down to a review process. Maybe it's a word with the coaches. You could see they were talking to the umpires and stuff at half time, but we need to have some kind of result to come out of this where we adjust for future, and whether that's the teams adjust or the umpires review what the decisions were that were being made. I don't know what that's going to be, but we need to have something.
Yeah, 100%. A penalty count like that for both teams, that is just simply unacceptable in a 48-minute game as well. Yeah. It's not even a 60-minute game, it's 48 minutes. That is just absolutely outrageous. So moving on to our players of the round, Lucy P, who are you going for?
Okay, so this week I have gone for shooting superstar Amy Clinton.
Yes.
Yeah, first Dragon to win this award. So round of applause, Amy. I just think her long range shooting is pretty much a get out of jail free card for Dragons. They don't have to work it in so much, because she is just going to get that ball wherever she is. She's confident she's going to go to post. She shot 23 from 27 at 85% in the game this weekend. But bear in mind, this was against Commonwealth Games gold medalist Ebony Osoro-Brown. And 85% is actually her average for the season. And I think that just demonstrates how much of a consistent campaigner she is. She does not look out of place against the best of the best, and her confidence to just literally just turn, sight the post and pop it in is amazing to watch. So for me, yeah, she's a real shining light for Dragons at the moment, and for them to be ahead of Bath at half time was amazing, and it was really credit to her work that she was doing up front. She is definitely underrated, and I imagine it must be super difficult to be in a team that has suffered so many losses, but you never see her with her head down. She's got such great technical base from going through the Thunder pathway, and I think she's got an amazing future. So yeah, big up Amy Clinton. Great week.
Yeah, 100%. And wasn't she one of the ones who was selected in one of the Sky Netball polls about uncapped players that you'd like to see in the Roses lineup? I think that's just testament to her skill and her attitude. And yeah, she had a great week.
I wonder who you've gone for, Luce.
Well, it'll be absolute surprise to nobody that I've gone for the Queen, all hail Queen, Donnell Wallam. Oh man, we say this lady's name every week pretty much, but honestly, she just continues to blow my tiny little mind. And you said it last week, Luce, if you're president of the Donnell Wallam fan club, then I'm CEO, because I just love her. She alone scored more in that game than the entire Mavs team combined, and is now topping the leaderboard for shooting accuracy at 94%. Oh, mental. And that's over 7 games, I believe. She only missed 1 goal this game. And for the 6 missed shots that Rhinos had altogether, she got the offensive rebound for 4 of them. I mean, come on. Like, it's just insane. And that intercept, I think it was in the first quarter, where she just launched herself straight up in the air, like proper Fumi Fidoju style. And then you've got the turnover. Mate, it's too much. I can't cope. I just love her. She's incredible to watch, and what a benefit to our league.
And don't forget as well, she's in the extended squad for the Fever this year. So after she finishes up at Rhinos, she's going to be heading over to Australia, playing with Janelle Fowler, playing against Courtney Bruce in training. And I mean, what is she going to be like next season after a summer in the SSN? That is scary, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, thank you, Dan, for signing her on a 2-year deal, because it means at least we've definitely got her back next year. And I think we tweeted it as well, actually. Can you imagine her in an Aussie Diamonds dress? Everyone else is just like sweating.
Yeah, exactly. All the other nations. She's incredible. So this week, our talking point is obviously about the start of the hotly anticipated Suncorp Super Netball season kicking off this weekend. So we thought it would be fun to do our predictions for who we think is going to be in the top 4. And now we haven't told each other these ones, so they are a total surprise. So Lucy G, take it away. What are your top 4 predictions?
Okay, I feel like I'm going a bit rogue with my top 4. I don't know if I'm going to come to regret my decisions towards, the end of the season, but I've gone with, first up, Firebirds, because they're looking incredibly strong, and they've also got the return of Gretel Boetta and also the addition of Kim Rivalian. I think they are looking incredible. I've also gone for Giants, because their preseason game has been sharp. Like, they have been absolutely on fire. And I hope that they can translate that on court. I've then gone for Swifts. I don't think you can look past Swifts. They've kept their roster basically the same, I think. I can't think of anyone who's changed, really. So they've got those connections and that consistency there. And then last up, I've gone for Magpies. And I feel like I'm taking a bit of a chance with this one, because they haven't delivered in recent years. But when you look at their lineup, and they've got the addition of Khalifa McCollin now, and they've got a new coach, I think this could be their year.
Interesting. Mine are fairly similar, actually, in the most part. So I've also gone for Firebirds, who I am tipping to win it this year, because I think that they are insane with their strength and depth, particularly in the shooting end with Tipper Dwan, who's going to be coming on as an impact player. I mean, her with Gretel Boetta, amazing. We love to see it. And obviously Kimmy Rav in the middle, like you said. But I actually think that joining them in the grand final will be Giants. Think that if they can nail that shooting combo with Joe Harton and Kira Austin, I think they're going to be up there, mostly due to the super shot, because I think that that is a particular team that can really nail it. And missing out on finals, but still up there in the top 4, I'm going for West Coast Fever. I know they're getting a 12-point deduction, but you have seen that side, that squad, those new diamonds in there. I really think they're going to be up there in the top 4, especially as they have such a hugely talented defensive end with Sunday Ariang in there as well. So definitely backing them. And lastly, I'm going for Swifts. We know that they did it 2 years ago in 2019, and they have just such a lovely team culture and team energy that I really am always just rooting for them. Obviously, we've got Nat and Helen out there as well. So yeah, Swifts are going to be my 4th pick for the top 4.
It surprises me that neither of us have said Vixens, obviously being the reigning champions. Why have you not put them in your top 4?
I don't think their shooting end is going to be strong enough. Yeah. Obviously, they have Mari Kumwenda, who is an absolute gun. But in the goal attack position, okay, maybe Kaylee Stanton, but feeding them in wing attack, we still don't know who that's going to be. I think they announced a replacement player today, but she's only a temporary replacement. Yeah. So without Liz Watson, who is that missing cog in the Vixens lineup? Who knows? They could still do it. The good thing about Suncorp is that you cannot write any of these teams off. Yeah. You could genuinely say that any of these 8 teams would be in the top 4. They are all really close contenders, and it just depends how they turn up throughout the season and what impact the Super Shot has.
Yeah, definitely. So if you're in the UK and you want to watch the SSN season, it's got loads of our roses out there as well. So it's a brilliant competition to watch. Just download the Netball Live app and you can watch all of the games on there. Coming up next, we sit down with Jodie Gibson to talk about all things injuries, taking a look at her journey through injury, rehab and recovery.
It is so exciting to welcome the wonderful Jodie Gibson onto the show. Welcome, Jodie.
Hi, guys. Does anyone call you Lucy Squared or Lucy times
Yes.
two?
Yes,
Lucy
thank you, Stacey
Squared.
Francis. She coined the term Lucy Squared. So,
Well, hello, Lucy Squared, and thank you so much for having me today.
Oh, it's our pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on the show with us. So unlucky for Mavs not to take the win against Leeds Rhinos at the weekend. How has the season been for you so far?
Yeah, well, I guess for me, it's been a bit of a strange season. In a way, I've been elated in every game that I've been in, the fact that I'm playing netball. But then on the other side, I think as a team, there's times when we haven't fulfilled our potential. I think that's so frustrating at times. I think the game on the weekend was a perfect example of that. We trained so well week in, week out. Our attack are dominant, our defence are dogged. We have the formula in training sessions to be a successful team. But then we just get to a game day and there's just something missing, whether it's we're doing lots of unforced errors or things just aren't clicking. So it's really frustrating. But well played to these Rhinos. What a dominant performance they put out against us. Williams is a superstar.
Yeah.
We're obsessed. We just love
superstar.
her.
She's an incredible player. And I think Dan shared a clip actually on Twitter of a clip from the game where every single player in the team touched the ball except the goalkeeper. And actually, that's what it felt like. They had each other's backs. They just played so well. So, yeah, well done to Leeds Rhinos on that performance.
Yeah, it was an amazing game to watch, actually. Obviously, unfortunate for Mavs not to get over the line. But yeah, there were those passages where they just really look like they're backing each other up and they're playing for each other. And Mavs have shown that as well, particularly obviously in the Bath game a few weeks ago. But yeah, I guess it's just about putting that all together for the full time. And is it better now you're back in London? You've obviously got less travelling to worry about. It's a little bit easier from that perspective.
Yeah, it definitely feels like we're playing at home. I think travelling to Wakefield definitely has its effects, but for all teams, I think that's not really a factor that we can say is a contributing factor to why we're not performing, because you have teams like Saracens who are travelling from Scotland and teams travelling from far and wide. So actually, that travelling factor isn't something that's affecting our performance, but it definitely feels great to be in London because London's home for Saracens Mavericks, and yeah, it's great to be there.
Fantastic. So we wanted to chat to you specifically a bit today about injuries, rehab and your recovery. So as most people will know, you very sadly missed the season in 2019 after having your knee surgery. And then you returned to play your first match for Mavericks in March this year, which was amazing, by the way. It's great to see you back out there. So can you take us through a little bit of the timeline of what happened after the Commonwealth Games in 2018?
Yeah, so previous to the Commonwealth Games, I had a bit of a knee injury, a little bit of knee soreness that we were managing. I would always have my knee taped and we'd always just be managing that, making sure that I was doing certain things in the gym and just managing my loads. And the plan was always to get it for the Commonwealth Games and then we'll assess it after that. So after the Commonwealth Games, my knee was fine. It actually was probably in the best place it has been, so which is really positive. So we thought, okay, we'll keep pushing it, we'll keep going. Then actually, maybe post World Cup, we'll look to assess it again and look to have an operation or just look to see where your knees are. So I got selected after the Commonwealth Games into all the tours that year. So it was a really busy year. We went from a 4-week quad series. We were home for like 2 days and we flew to Jamaica, home for like 3 days and we flew to Fast 5. And that was in such a condensed time. And then we got home, we had like a 3-4 week window before the Uganda series. So during that time, my knee, again, it was okay. Like we were still managing my knee and having to tape it for certain sessions, but actually there was no signs of me needing surgery anytime soon. So went into Uganda series, knee was feeling fine. Got through the first 2 games fine. Then the third game came. I remember getting to the copper box that morning and my knee just didn't feel right. And I got on a bike, and when your knee's hurt on a bike, you know that something's not right. So then I tried to run and it was so painful to run. But I finished that game in game 2. I got player of the match. I was fine. I was walking off the court. Everything I was ready for game 3, but there was just something that had changed in my knee that we just didn't know what it was. So actually, I sat out that game, and then the next thing was, okay, let's go see the doctor and let's get an MRI scan. Let's see what's happening inside your knee. So I remember going for that MRI scan, and you're in the MRI and you're thinking, it's nothing. You've not done anything. It can't be an ACL. They've done all of those ACL checks, MCL checks. It can't be that. Because I think in netball, you straight away associate any knee pain with an ACL or MCL. You don't think of anything else that it could be.
Yeah.
So get the MRI results back, and I go and see the physio and the doctor. And I remember that morning again so clearly. I went to see the physio first, and he was messing around with my knee, very passive. And I was thinking, either something's not right because he's not doing the right things to my knee that he normally would do, and it's just passing time until we go into the doctor and he's going to tell me some bad news, or my knee's great and I'm good to go. So I didn't know what I was going to be going into. So I remember going into the doctor's room and sitting down with the doctor and the physio, where the doctor broke the news that actually on the MRI scan it's come back and it's shown that there has been further defects to my knee. So what has happened is I always had cartilage in my knee that was, just from years of loading, was starting to get a little bit damaged. But it was manageable. There was not any issues that we needed to have surgery on that. But the MRI scan showed that cartilage now had come away from the knee. It was just floating around in the knee, having a little party in there. And then as a result of that, I had lots of different chips in the bone from the impact to just now become a bit eroded. So it was like, but don't worry, Jodie. I know it's a World Cup year. We'll get this surgery done. We're going for a manufacturer. We'll speak to the surgeon, but it's not going to be a surgery that's going to have you out for a long time. We'll aim to get you back towards the end of the season. You'll be able to trial for the World Cup, and then we'll go from there. So do not worry. I remember just crying so much that morning. And I remember Tracy called me, because Tracy Neville, coach at the time of England. And I remember her calling me. And she was just like, Jod, I've heard the news. We're going for breakfast.
I love the Northern accent as well. That was great.
Jod, we're going for breakfast. And honestly, it was just the best thing I needed in that moment. I think no matter what my mum, my friends, my family could have said to me, they didn't know what I was about to go into, but actually Tracy did. So actually sitting down, and she was the head coach. So sometimes when you find out you're going to have surgery, you need a little bit of reassurance. Like, we've got you back. Like, you know within yourself anyway, they've got you back. But just to hear it from the coaches and players, like, we've got you. Anything you're going to go through now, we're going through together. I needed to hear that. So yeah, we had breakfast, we chatted, and I left there feeling like, Jodie, we're going to go through rehab, we're going to get this operation, and we're going to absolutely smash it. Like, nothing's going to hold us back. And everything held us back. Absolutely everything held us back.
God.
So tell me, so then after that, you were rehabbing, and then it was the selection. So take us a bit through a bit more of that journey.
Yeah, so I had my operation beginning of January. The first few weeks were going great. The recovery was going well. I was back in the gym, doing certain lifts and just trying to build up that muscle again. And that was all going great. The gym for me is my playground. It's where I have the most fun. I love it. The challenges started to come was when we started to try and run. So it's probably around month 3, and it was just so uncomfortable. I just didn't know why. I was getting these really great strength results and everything else, and physio markers and everything. I was meeting all of those, but then why couldn't she run? Why couldn't she run comfortably? And we tried other things. As when plan A didn't work, okay, we tried plan B. For me, I'm so optimistic. I'm so passionate about netball, and to be honest, we are quite just a happy person. So actually, if that didn't work, okay, what's next? Physio, what's next? What are we doing now? And I welcome the challenges, but then everything we then tried to try and run again just wasn't working. I actually got back to a stage where we thought, okay, she can't run the length of the court, but she runs really well and she's short, sharp agility movements. Let's just do that. Let's do that and see if actually the passing will help her run comfortably. So actually I was getting a taste then of that return to play, that return rehab of having one-to-one sessions with the coaches, Sam Bird, Tracy Neville, because Sam Bird was my 7 Stars coach at the time. So having those one-to-one sessions with those guys and doing the agility stuff, and I was moving really well. But then as soon as he said, right, run to the end of the court, well, it was not happening.
Wow.
I would just limp, and it was just like, well, why is that happening? And I'd be working with England physio, I'd be working with the lead knee physio from EIS. The support around me was incredible, but nobody had the answers. So I was told my rehab would take around 4 months. At the 4-month mark, when I couldn't run, it was like, okay, let's go back to the surgeon and just find out what's going on. And the surgeon was like, well, structurally, everything's fine. The microfracture's healing really well. Everything from my part is looking really good. So actually, I have no answers. We can go back into the knee, but I wouldn't want to do that. There's no reason for me to go back in there. So actually, it'd be wrong for me to say that. So with the physios and other specialists, just figure out a formula that you need to run again. Eventually, we just kept working hard, and I said, okay, I'm strong, but let's get stronger. Maybe the strength markers I'm hitting aren't the ones I need to hit for myself, because I think that's really important. I think sometimes physios and research have certain markers that certain individuals need to hit, but actually every person is different. I might be stronger than another player, or I might need just a little bit more strength to be able to overcome more than the other player can. So actually, it was those conversations that we're starting to have now. So I was just hitting PBs after PBs in the gym, like every single week was a new PB, because I had to get strong. I had to get back to play netball. And it started to work. Doing all the weights actually really helped. More weights and getting stronger helped. So I was running more. I was running comfortably, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can feel it. I'm nearly back. And then we got close to the World Cup, and it was very much like, you're not going to be ready to be selected for the first selection. But then actually, as the weeks went by, they were like, we had a conversation with one of the physios and said, actually, if Tracy decides to name you as a reserve, well, I'm comfortable with that, because you're running well, you're moving well, you're looking good, it's great. So I was like, fantastic. But luckily, nobody in the lead up to the World Cup got injured, so I wasn't needed. But then it was like, okay, I'm finally back. It's July. I've got pre-season now to focus on just keep building up my conditioning base. And then August hit, and my knee just blew up again. My knee just, from nowhere, my knee would just swell so much. And so then I had an issue then where my knee would just be full of fluid. And again, they'd be like, well, what's happened? What have you done, Jodie? Like, what's happened? But I was just like, I'm doing exactly what I've been doing for the last few months. Like, nothing has changed, but my knee just wasn't happy. I mean, just wasn't sure why. So then I went back for an MRI scan, and again, MRI results were saying that actually the microfracture that you had surgery on was fine, but there is a new site in the knee that started to erode a little bit. The bone started to thin down, cartilage just started to chip away from that area of the knee. However, it's a non-weight bearing side of the knee, so you'll be able to rehab it again and just keep pushing on. And I remember thinking, I'm not being defeated by this. As long as the physios and everyone can support me, like, I want to do this, let's go again. So we would try it again, we got strong again, we just continued with the rehab, but the knee would just swell, like to the point where I'd have to get my knee aspirated. So a knee aspiration is when they stick like a needle into your knee and they drain the fluid out of your knee. Yeah, I had to manually drain the fluid out of my knee because my knee just wouldn't drain the fluid. And if anything, I tried, I'd be on strong anti-inflammatories. I'd have a Game Ready, which is an ice machine, compression machine, attached to my leg all the day long, because I did everything in my power to get the swelling down, because I want to play netball again. That was my main mission. No matter what I was doing in life, netball was my priority. I needed to get back. But these things just weren't working, because every time we had my knee aspirated, we'd give it a few weeks, then it blew up again. So we were just in this vicious circle of aspirating, things going great, swelling, aspirating, things going great, swelling. So then it was like, okay, what is actually going on inside this knee? So that's when I went to see a rheumatologist. So bear in mind, this was October 2019. I was probably about eight or 9 months post-operation at this point. And things were getting hard. I think for the first 7 months, I don't think I cried once. I was just like, you know what? What's the next thing? Let's keep pushing on. I'm ready. I'm motivated. Let's keep going. I want to be the best version I can be. So everything I do is just going to make me stronger and more resilient. Let's keep pushing. I got to month 8 and I crumbled. I cried all the time. And during that period, Layla was also out. She had her Achilles injury from the World Cup, which was just so heartbreaking to see. But during that time, I would use her as my outlet, because sometimes when you're injured and you're in a team, you don't want to be that hoover. So we call it emotional hoover, where you don't want to be that hoover that comes in and everyone's like, how's your knee, Jodie? I'm like, yeah, things aren't going great. Like, you don't want to hear that. They want to hear things are going amazing. And well, they do want to hear that, because your teammates, they're your friends, they're your family. But I don't want to tell you that things aren't going great, because you don't need to hear that. You need to focus on the game that's coming up or the session you're entering. So actually, I didn't want to be selfish and put that on them and unload on them. So then that's when I'd speak to Layla. England Netball was sensing that Jodie's not okay. So actually, you need to see our psychologist, because for ages they've been saying to me, go and see her. And I'd be like, no, I'm fine. I'm strong. I'm an independent woman. I'm a warrior. I can deal with all of this myself. And actually, I couldn't. But it took them to say, no, just have a conversation with her, for me to actually realise that I needed to speak to somebody, and someone that understood it. I think when I spoke to friends and family, they were just like, oh, you'll be fine, you're strong, you're a netball player, this, you're that, but they didn't really understand the emotions that go into it, being that injured player. So yeah, the psychologist, she changed my whole life. She's been incredible. Honestly, just the best thing that's been introduced into my life in the last few years was a psychologist, as well as a rheumatologist, but we'll get back to her in a moment.
That's amazing. I mean, we're really struck by just your optimism and your positivity throughout the whole experience. When we were looking into this, there's loads of studies actually that support this idea that athletes, when they have an injury, they go through like the 5 stages of grief. So denial, anger, frustration, bargaining, maybe a little bit of pleading with the physio to let you train, depression and acceptance. But from your journey, because it just hasn't been a straight road, it's been everything, ups and downs and highs and lows. And I mean, that is amazing, that you've had that resilience to get through. I almost feel like we should have had you on our Overcoming Challenges episode a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, that's just amazing. And so tell us about the work with the psychologist. How has that really benefited you in your return to play?
Oh, it's helped massively. I think firstly, just speaking to somebody. I think just speaking to somebody and listening. I think for me, and I hope people can relate to this as well, if you're this person, but I'm the soundboard for my friends. I'm the person my friends come to when they need to talk about something, and I'm the person that gives all the advice. And when it's flipped, my friends are my soundboard, but sometimes you don't want to overshare sometimes, because your friends have overpoured to you, that's what I'm there for. Sometimes, like, and Jodie, how are you? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm great. I'm brilliant. So actually, I don't have that time to really talk about what I need to talk about. So actually, having a psychologist allowed me to have that outlet and just talk about my feelings and talk about what I'm feeling in that moment, and look at the possibilities of maybe if you don't get back to playing netball, what will that look like? If you get back to playing netball, what will that look like? We'd have a bit of talk about having a strategy in place emotionally around, if you were to continue this rehab and things start getting bad again, how are we going to cope? What your outlet's going to be? And if things are going really well, still look at those things as well. So I think sometimes when things are going really well, we neglect those feelings and those emotions and those things. And actually, when things are going really bad, we can neglect that as well, but it's more apparent that things are going bad. So actually, be aware of all things, so then you're in control of it a lot more. Because the one thing that was really hard with this injury is the fact that I had no control. I would control the controllables of going to the gym, doing everything I needed to do as an athlete that I was given from the physio, from the doctor, to make sure my knee was in the best position it could be in. But the things we couldn't control was the swelling, the things that were happening inside the knee that no one had answers for. So actually, I just had to learn to control the controllables and just roll with the punches and just keep going. Yeah, which was hard. It was really hard.
Yeah, you hear this a lot, this phrase, controlling the controllables, particularly within netball. I think Sue Gordian said it on the episode that we had with her, and I think Stacey Francis might have said it as well. And it seems a bit of a cliche, but taking things one day at a time really is the only way to recover from something that's so challenging. And you have these little mini milestones, I suppose. And there's this quote from the late Kobe Bryant around injuries that we just love. He says, it's a long journey, but if you focus on the mini milestones along the way, you'll find beauty in the struggle of doing simple things that prior to the injury were taken for granted. What have been your little mini milestones in your recovery?
Absolutely. That's a great quote. And I think another thing with that quote is, until you get injured, you don't appreciate your body. I think actually when you get injured, from having to be in a podcast, for example, when I did my ruptured my Achilles back in 2014, or when I was on the chair, I couldn't really walk. Actually, you take for granted sometimes the things the body can do. And then having to relearn those skills actually makes you so much more aware of the body. And I think that's what makes you a better athlete as well, because you step into the gym and you become more aware of the muscles that are activating, or the muscles that you need to switch on to do certain things, or how in which a movement is done. Actually, the breakdown of that skill makes you so much more aware and so much more holistic in understanding what everything you're doing and all the processes of movement and netball and all of those things. So I think that's one of my biggest things that I've really become aware of, especially in this injury, because I've had so much time to think about those things.
Yeah.
Another little win, I'd say on my gym PBs, I think I've always been one of the strongest skills in the team, but actually this time has given me, I had to focus my attention into something that made me feel like I had a bit of purpose, and actually, and something that brought happiness. And some of the rehab bits didn't give me that. So actually going to the gym and putting on loads of weight onto the rack and single leg pressing 270 kg was just like,
whoa, that's insane.
Back. Double leg. Did a single leg press? No, single leg press 170, I think. That wasn't two. Anyway, some really high numbers. And leg press was like over 300k, like ridiculous numbers. And so those things were my little wins, and little things that you'd leave the gym and you'd be like, yes, that was such a good day. Yeah, they were the little things that just kept me happy and kept me motivated during the time.
Yeah. I absolutely love that. I love the idea of you being like, yes, little fist bump, I've got this. And you were doing everything, there was so much that you had to work on, and you really put your mind to the task and got on with it, which is really inspiring. And we've talked a bit sort of previously about obviously being in the Roses setup, and we know that competition for places is obviously really tough. And we've seen that sometimes in athletes in any other sport, not necessarily netball, people might try and downplay the injury if they think it might hurt their chances of being selected for something. We actually found a study called Playing Through the Pain, which tells you a lot about what the study's to do with. And they basically found 5 factors of why athletes continued to be willing to try and play through their injury, and 2 in particular that we wanted to highlight. The first one is a culture of pain, so an environment where you're expected to go to that place where it really hurts you and keep pushing on. And the second one is a desire to strive for distinction, which can sometimes cloud people's better judgment. Do you think that this kind of playing through the pain philosophy takes place in netball? And do you think that the instability of the semi-professional career has any role to play?
I think there's definitely elements of that. I think it's interesting because some people find it quite heroic to push through the pain, whereas on the flip side, I've been that player that has pushed through the pain, and then has developed an injury that's kept me out for longer. So I'm not that player. I'm the player that actually, let me come off the court because I play in a team. Every single person in this team has a purpose and can perform when they step out on that court. And every opportunity they get, they can play. So why am I going to be pushing through the pain and be able to perform at 6% of my limit when someone else can come on and play 100% of their limit and do a great job? So for me, that element of pushing through the pain is not a part of my identity anymore. Not at all, not with these knees.
I love that as well, because when you're off the court, you can still have an impact on the team. So although you might be taking yourself out of the playing environment, you're there on the bench. I think I've seen images of you and you're shouting and cheering on the bench, and there's so much that injured players can also bring. Did you find that while you were rehabbing that you still felt part of the group and able to contribute effectively?
Yeah, definitely. I think I'm not naive to the fact that when you are injured, you do sometimes feel quite isolated from the team. I had many times where I felt so isolated from the team, but actually you create your own team with the physio, the doctor, any other injured players. You kind of create your own team away from the team, but you're still part of that big team. You're still part of those performance analysis sessions, the conversations the team are having. But sometimes it is hard when I've been there and the girls who are on court, they're talking and the coach is like, right, get involved with that conversation. But actually, they're feeling on court, so they just want to discuss that. But I'm still there in those conversations. But actually, it's just recognising that my input, yeah, it's great to have my input, but actually those girls on court, they're having a conversation around what they're feeling. But as that player, don't feel like, if you're the injured player, don't feel like you can't have your input, because you might not be feeling it, but you are watching it. And that's something that I've had to learn, because I think sometimes I didn't want to overstep the boundaries of being like, oh, you should try this, try that, because the players on court, they're the ones doing it. But actually, you offer so much value as that player on the sideline, whether you're on the bench, whether you're an injured player and you're restricted to what you can do and be involved with the group. Still have that input, because it's so important. And it also makes you feel like you come away from those sessions sometimes being like, oh, that was such a great session because I was able to get involved in those conversations, or I was able to be the feeder. Having that player, if you're a netball coach and you're listening to this, or if you're an injured player yourself, if you have an injured player, get them involved, be that feeder. Find different ways to really incorporate them into the group, because they want to be there for the team.
And I guess to see that as a real learning opportunity for you, the injured player as well, like those other things that you might pick on and you might see. And obviously, you know, we always want to look on the positive side and see what you can learn from an injury and what you can learn from that experience. Are there any other major positives for you that have come out from all of this sort of adversity that you've faced?
Yeah, definitely. I'd say I am such a strong person now. I think I was always quite a resilient person, but my resilience has been tested. It's been broken down. It's been rebuilt numerous times. But I think with this, I think what's great about sport is, well, you learn so many skills that are transferable to life. And I think with this, it's proven that I can get through so much, and not just in netball, but in life. And I actually received such a nice message from somebody just saying that they lost their job due to COVID, and they were going to look at going into another avenue, because they just thought, you know what, I'm going to give up, because we're in lockdown, the job's been taken away from me, I'm just going to go and do something else. But they were like, actually, seeing you come back on court after 2.5 years made me think, no, stick to it. There's a process to get where you need to get to, and I'm going to get to where I got to. And that was just incredible, because actually they were able to take my experiences with netball and apply it to their lives. So I think that's something that I've really learned. Yeah, and I do that now myself. I look at things, I think through it rationally. And I also say, okay, what's realistic? Is it realistic to achieve this? Is it realistic to do this? But whatever way, don't think you're going to get from there A to B, but we'll get there. But it's all a process.
Thank you so much, Jodie. This has been amazing to hear your journey. So tell us what you are looking forward to in the second half of the Super League, being back on court with Mavericks.
I'm looking forward to just being on court with my team, playing in London at the Copper Box. The England Netball have done an incredible job getting the production from Wakefield to the Copper Box. So actually, just playing there, and fingers crossed, seeing some fans at the Copper Box soon will be the icing on the top of this cake this year. So please, please, please.
Thank you so much. It's been amazing to chat to you. Have a lovely rest of your day, and we'll speak to you very soon.
Thank you so much, Lucy and Lucy.
Oh, she is just so nice, isn't she? Just what a little sweetheart, and so lovely of her to share her experience and story with us.
Literally the loveliest person I think I've ever met. She said that she's got so much energy and positivity and optimism, which is just incredible when you consider the ups and downs that her journey has had. To be able to maintain that optimistic outlook is just phenomenal.
And I think as well, because it wasn't just one injury on one day and then you're out for your rehab for 6 months and then you're back. It was in and out and up and down and the knee flaring up and they couldn't understand why. That really just must have been so difficult.
Yeah, talk about a squiggly journey. I mean, there's no linear lines there at all. She's had it all. And what an incredible person to come out the other side and still be playing netball when she was told that she'd never play it again. I mean, wow.
And I'm sure that resonates a lot with people as well. You know, some of our listeners maybe even have had injuries like that in the past and they didn't know whether they would get back on court. And then to be able to see her doing that, what an incredible role model she is for the sport. Thank you so much for listening to episode 12 of QTR Time. We can't wait to bring you even more netball chat and another awesome guest next week.
Make sure you subscribe to the podcast and follow us on social media at QTR Time Pod for the latest netball updates. Get involved in the conversation online by letting us know what you think of all 17 matches this weekend and which players have stood out for you.
Amazing. What a jumbo weekend of netball. I can't wait. Thanks so much for listening and see you next week. Bye.
Bye.